I apologize for those folks online. Welcome again to the May 18th, 2022 meeting of the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council. So I know, Leah, anything, other concerns relative to parking here that you have from the fire department's perspective? Thank you. All right. With that, let us rise and face the flag, and you can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. All right, thank you, Hugh. All right, item 4, approval of the agenda. The agenda went out in the meeting packet late Sunday afternoon. Any comments, questions, concerns, additions to the agenda as proposed for today? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, both here in the room and online, signify by information by raising your hand online and here in the room. Okay, probably easier for online. Anyone opposed? Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Susie Coker and you might get together and talk about Prescribed Burn Association sometime. Does that ring a bell? Or
yeah, I don't. Is that an agenda item? No, we can talk.
Okay,
we can talk about that.
Okay,
certain.
thank you.
Thanks, David. Okay, hearing no opposition, the agenda for today's meeting is approved. Item number 5, board meeting minutes. Again, meeting minutes from the the April meeting were sent out with the meeting packet. All those, or any comments, questions, concerns relative to the agenda as proposed? Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor of the minutes as prepared? Any opposition? Okay, hearing and seeing none, the minutes from the April 20th meeting are approved. Okay, at this time, item 6, I have an opportunity for public comment, comment other than specific to Fire Safe Council reports. So any things from I think I saw Andy's hand first. Andy Davis. You should, yeah, it would be helpful for those online, and you just push the button and make sure the red light has come on.
There we go. So my name is Andy Nevis. I'm actually here today to check out your Zoom system. So thanks to Ken and Hugh for giving me the demo for some other organizations that I lead and that are trying to figure out hybrid meetings. So you guys have done a great job. But while I was here, I thought I would just give a plug for your director, Chris Payne, and I both serve on your county planning commission. And I'd really like to encourage the fire safe councils to be involved when we have projects in your area that come to the planning department and planning commission. Those comments are really valuable. As you all know, we have a lot of subdivisions in the county that were built a long time ago. And if we were to build them again, we probably wouldn't have built them quite that way, or we would have incorporated more safety features into them. And so we want to make sure we don't repeat those mistakes of the past. And so I'd really encourage you, both as councils and as you're talking to your local fire districts, please encourage them to be involved in the planning process, because we really do only get one shot. Once a neighborhood is built or a project is built, it's really hard to go back and try to fix the things that should have been done up front. I mean, you all know that as fire safe councils, that's a lot of your work, is trying to figure out how do we improve upon something that was built a long time ago. And so if we can do that work up front, it's really, really helpful. So that's it. I just wanted to give an encouragement that if you have the time and the resources, you're always welcome to participate in that process. And I know I would really appreciate it. And I think the other commissioners would as well. So thank you. Andy Nevis. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Andy. Yes, go ahead, introduce yourself and please.
Yes, good morning. Is this on?
Yep.
Okay, good morning. My name is Alan Carosa. I live up in the Garden Valley, and Tamara Johnson is our designated FSC leader. And I want to applaud her today for all the success she's had with her grant acquisitions. The reason I'm here today is in April, we had a meeting, a FSC meeting on Traverse Creek Road, headed up by Tamara and a couple other people from different agencies. And it was determined that we were the designated evacuation route to allow the ancillary roads around us to go on down to 193. And so we talked about it for a while, and I have had about a 5-year test of patience working with the county trying to get Traverse Creek Road in a real the state of readiness to be an evacuation route. For instance, we have heavy overgrown slope brush on Traverse Creek Road that actually forms a tunnel. And so you'd have to drive for about a quarter mile to half a mile through a tunnel of vegetation to get out of that area. So that makes it testy to be an evacuation, a safe evacuation route. And then we've had 2 years of heavy construction work for communication towers and communication equipment up on Traverse Creek Road, which had 4 and 6 axle trucks coming through and damaging the road size, the edges of the road, to the point where the road width has been reduced down to about 10 feet in a couple of places. So 10 feet will not allow a fire truck or a car to go through. So I had made requests, multiple requests for the DOT. I'm talking right now with Preston Moore to try to get some help there, because if we're going to evacuate, it would have been 20 years ago, kind of okay. We had enough road width and everything. So 20 years ago, we were looking good. Now we're not looking so good. And my concern is that it's easy to see that if one car or vehicle pulls over and let another one go by, it's going to go down a slope. And now you're going to have a compound problem. So I'm here to request help, or at least have you hear this, that we're getting nowhere fast with regard to dealing with the county. And I love the county. I've had great experiences with them, and I'm not here to denigrate them. I'm here to shine a light on an issue that is just now manifested to the point where it's like alert time. So the fact that we are going to be a designated evacuation route, I kind of think there's probably a basic premise or a basic a base to start from to even have that designation. For instance, the slope being cleared and then the road being widened. And the amount of road work I'm talking about is probably under 100 feet, 200 feet. It's not a massive job. It's just some places are washed out. I'll take any questions if you have any, but I really think that we as a fire safe council need to look at not only my road, Traverse Creek Road, but other roads that are feeder roads that come down to 193 or Marshall Road. They're as important. Now we concentrated on the Kelsey slope brush clearing, the Marshall Road, and other areas, which are all very important. All of us, every one of us live in very important areas for evacuation purposes. Mine now is in dire need of more than my 4 eyes to look at this stuff. So I would appreciate any attention that you could just shed on this. And we can't press Tamara anymore because she's doing such a stellar job in what she does. I think this needs to have the ears and the eyes of everybody.
No, and you're very well said, and your concerns relative to Traverse Creek Road, as you said, I think, countywide, we're all, in the various fire safe councils are looking at, what our ingress and egress options are throughout our communities. And the first step, of course, was having those things identified in the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, which is, pending approval at the County Board of Supervisors. But now it's really taking that document and utilizing it on the ground and sharing it back with the county for projects that have been identified in there to do just that. So happy to chat more, maybe when we have some more time, and connect you up with some other folks to see what we couldn't do to, to help on that for you, so we can continue that discussion.
I appreciate that. And I'd just like to leave you with this thought. I am a happy homeowner. I love living here. And I'm concerned for all of us in our county. I'm looking at the potential at a liability factor that if we have areas where people cannot get in and out, not unlike Paradise, we're going to have a big issue to deal with because it's like you kind of knew about it and we kind of didn't do anything about it. So thank you very much for listening. Appreciate
No,
it.
you're welcome. Thank you. The other comments during public comment? Okay, online seeing none. Okay, so I want to take something out of order. I've got a note from Mark Egbert from the RCD that he has to log off at 10. And so I would like to jump down to Mark's report under 8E7 from the RCD. Mark, you have the floor.
Oh, thank you very much, Ken. I appreciate it. And greetings, everybody. I just want to say that we're moving forward with the Caldor Forest and Community Recovery Program. We are expecting to go out to construction procurement for Grizzly Flats and Sierra Tahoe this week. So we will be putting those documents out and hopefully getting contractors on the ground here relatively soon. And other than that, you know, we are moving forward with all the work that Tamara will talk about in Kelsey and with the new award for from CAL FIRE for that project area. We've got crews on the ground right now at Sierra Springs for the Stevenson's Authority, and really looking forward to the amendments that are associated with that agreement to expand the work in multiple communities. You know, Ken will talk about the Office of Resiliency possibly, but I just really appreciate the coordination with the county and the leadership that they're helping with and in helping us with our long-term planning and orientation of strategic goals. I think it's really important for all of us to have that alignment so we move forward on the same pathway, just like the issues that were just identified. You know, how do we address those? How do we put them in our work plan? And how do we address all the needs of all the communities out there? So I just really wanted to do a shout out to the partnerships and the progress that we're making, and that's about it.
Thank you, Mark, and ditto back. Thanks for, I know there's been a lot going on, particularly in the last several weeks, and thanks for everything that you've been working on for all of us. Yes, go ahead.
Hey, Mark, Pat Dwyer. What's the status on the amended agreements for the Stevens Authority for the 3 new areas?
I think, so the gentleman we met with the U.S. Forest Service, he wanted to get I believe an update, sort of generalized project description. And so those various satellite councils that were where that funding was going to go to is going to provide those updated project summaries directly to you. So we've met with the folks up at Mosquito, and you should have received that information from them. So I think we've gave the input that we needed to give to those satellite councils. And then you should be just getting that information directly from them. And then you would send that over to the Forest Service.
And say again that the councils are going to be responsible for the prescription and treatment?
Well, the prescriptions, yeah, well, they wouldn't be responsible for the prescriptions and the treatments. But they do have the language associated with what those prescriptions are, and they should be sending that directly to you. I think when we met last time, it was understood that those fire safe councils would provide that information directly to you. And I had some input with those councils, but I think it was just you guys preferred to get that information directly from the councils.
Okay, thank you. And the question really was about the contract amendment between us and you to add the 3 additional areas from the Stevens Authority.
Yeah, I think the agreement between the Fire Safe Council and the RCDs would be on the schedule after the Forest Service initiated and authorized the agreement with the Fire Safe Council, so that we wouldn't sort of authorize the sub agreement with the RCD until after you guys solidified the agreement and the amendment with the Forest Service first.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
It's like David Zielinski has his hand up. David.
Mark, do you have any updates on the Texas Hill Placerville job? And also, do you want to tell us a little bit about the intern that's been hired and share with Fire Safe Council? Maya.
Oh, yeah. So yesterday we did get notification that and we did receive the preliminary agreement for the Placerville Greater Area Community Wildfire Resilience Strategy, the plan. So we just got that yesterday. We are having a meeting the first week of June to review the terms and conditions with the Sierra Nevada Conservancy with that. And then we hope that we can sign documents the first week of June so that we actually have the agreement and we have the funding. So that's kind of the benchmark we've been waiting for before we kind of got going on it, because, you know, until until you've got the signed agreements, you can't really make too many commitments. And as you know, we've been sort of hesitant in committing and to this point. So it looks like we have the agreement and things are going to be moving forward. And I'd like to be able to meet with the Fire Safe Council and the city and the stakeholders to kind of get the organizational structure for that project documented and initiated so that we have somewhat of a planning framework, and then obviously work with identify the sort of the adjacent ongoing efforts, like with the Planning Commission and the Transportation Commission and the county, and obviously with the Fire Safe Council, to align what other actions are being done so that we don't duplicate efforts and we complement those efforts. And it's written into the scope of work that's how we would do that. And so that's sort of the first steps right there, but we'll dive into that at the first meeting, hopefully early in June.
Mark, we're gonna, if you're closed out on that, we're gonna go ahead and introduce Maya during the Office of Wildfire Resiliency presentation. That's definitely on our list. I've got one more item to drop down to while we still have a quorum, because I know we have some folks leaving early. I want to make sure we get to that.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Question from this.
Name is Alan Carosa. I live up in Garden Valley. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Hey, I'd like to just ask you, is Travis Creek Road on your agenda for this year's fire season slope rush clearance?
So our work in that area is in coordination with Tamra and the Georgetown Fire Safe Council, and we're relying on them to establish the priorities for that implementation schedule.
So you don't have an answer at all that Travis Creek Road is on the agenda for this year's fire season?
Can I answer that?
Yes, Tamra.
Alan, that was the meeting that we had, and we're getting the right of entry agreements, which are excruciatingly slow and painful to get. So any help to get those right of entry agreements will speed up the process.
Tamara, thank you very much.
Well said. Thank you. Oh, Chris has got his hand up. Chris Payne.
Mark, Chris Payne. Why don't you tell some of the people that are new what Stevens Authority is, so we have an understanding in terms of the context of what you just told us?
Briefly, if we could, please.
Yeah.
Briefly, if you could, because you know how long I can take.
So, there's a lot of different funding pots from a lot of different agencies. And the Stevens Authority is one that the Forest Service uses to support private lands adjacent to the Forest Service. And so they use the Stevens Authority to issue agreements to the Fire Safe Council to do community wildfire protection work. And it's been successful, and they've demonstrated that it is a successful project. And it's just one pot of money that the Forest Service uses to support the community.
Great, thank you, Mark. Okay, with that, I would like to, and again, thank you, Mark, for stepping in and answering the questions. At this time, I'd like to jump down to, it's actually under committee reports 13D1, which is new council formation and orientation, because we do have a roll call vote where we have a new fire safe council proposed, the Camino Fire Safe Council. And I want to make sure, because I didn't get a chance to meet her ahead of time, but it's Dorothy Fine. Hi, Dorothy. So could you stand up, introduce yourself, and maybe just give just a brief overview of where things are at here before we dive in? Oh, yeah, make sure you have the microphone.
Good morning, I'm Dorothy Fine, and we are just in the total beginning of getting our fire safe council. We have split from Pollock Pines Camino, and we're just forming our Camino board. We're having our first board election next week on Tuesday. So if you know of anybody in the Camino area that's interested, I'd be happy to talk to them and see to get participation in any extra help information. This is not my area of expertise, but it is my area of passion, obviously, because all of us working together, and it's appreciated for all the volunteer help and everything you guys have been doing, obviously, for years. So
Awesome. Thank you,
Thank you.
Dorothy. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Karen, our secretary. Obviously, to ensure we have the paperwork and the process there. I'll hand you the mic.
I do have all of the Camino paperwork, their application, their agreement, and the conflict of interest. And they do have the appropriate number of board members at this time, even though they're revoting. I do need to get another thing of board applications from you. So I have extra ones here for you. But other than that, all of their paperwork is complete and ready for approval.
Could you turn on the mic next to Chris? Make sure that's heard. Thank you, Chris. Say that again, please.
This is Chris Payne, Patterson Ranch Fire Safe Council is moving that Camino Fire Safe Council be accepted into the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council by board action. That's my motion.
We have a motion to approve and bring them forward. We have a second from Karen Pullen. Any questions or comments? Yeah, Joe. Oh, yep.
Rancho del Sol Camino. So how does that work? If you have two councils in the same name?
Are the areas over? Oh,
Well,
The-
overall, 95709.
but the actual physical areas, do we have a map submitted from Camino to show the designated area, the sphere, the zone?
We actually,
yes,
we do, it was set as when it was Pollock Pines Camino, it was a single fire safe council, and we put a dividing line in that map at that time. So it's easy to split along that same boundary.
yes.
So it's
And-
actually nothing new. It's the same boundary, just without.
Yeah. And to answer Joe's question, the Placerville zip code's an issue. If we were going to try to do things by zip code, we would have Gold Hill included in Placerville. So the Fire Safe Council individual community maps are not dependent on zip code. To have it be a fire safe community, it's Camino, 95709. Rancho del Sol, Camino. I'm not, I'm just trying to make sure that we don't get confused.
Rancho del Sol is just Rancho del Sol. It's not Rancho del Sol / or hyphen Camino.
Well, it's in Camino.
Just, I know, but I'm just saying that we have it down as two separate councils.
Right. And I'd like to say on behalf of Camino, we personally live in Audubon Hills. And there was the consideration, do we go ahead and start an Audubon Hills Fire Safe Council? And the answer was absolutely not, because then that would not include other areas. And we realized that Rancho del Sol is the largest area of housing groupings in the Camino area. But it would be kind of the same as like, isn't Texas Hill part of Placerville area and zip code? So what would be wonderful is we will work in collaboration with you and your fire safe council, same as we hope to work with Placerville, which we abut, and other areas that we do, because Camino geographically is quite large and spread out. But we wanted to make sure that everybody was covered in the Camino area.
Okay.
I'd just like to say that Pollock Pines, there's Gold Ridge Fire Safe Council, Sierra Springs Regional Fire Safe Council, and to be formerly Pollock Pines Camino, now Camino. So we can all just work together. It's not an issue.
I'm just trying to make sure that we're
Yes.
clear on what is.
100%.
Who is that? I'm sorry, online.
I
Oh,
was
Sherry.
it's Sherry. I was just agreeing with Kay, 100%. We all work together up here on the Hill and look forward to it.
No, absolutely. So obviously we have a motion on the table that's been seconded. Obviously, clearly, Joe's concerns are, heard loud and clear. But I think the broader discussion is moving forward, but ensuring that we're communicating both to the public and to each other as councils, that we're not overlapping, that our messages are consistent and folks understand the differences. I personally feel this is a great step. Anytime we can serve, more members of our community, that's what we need to be doing at this grassroots level. So, Chris, yes, microphone, please.
To this discussion, certainly we found out that the power of grant applications comes from the relationships of the fire safe councils in working together. That's the power. The more areas you have described clearly so that there's no confusion, the better, because then a fire safe council doesn't have to be thinking, how am I going to get them motivated over in this particular area? You already have it. Let's just go with it. Let's get more fire safe councils if they're uniquely created. And like you did, Camino, hey, my motion says we want you to join. I'm hoping the other board members agree. Joe, I hope you agree, because
I just wanted to make sure that we weren't.
you are clearly on white, you're on Snows Road. I know where you are because you're very active, and I think you ought to be proud of what you've been doing. Thank you.
Thank you,
Not
Chris.
everybody thinks so.
Okay.
My own.
All right. No, thank you all. Thanks, Joe, for bringing that forward. And then
Welcome. I'm gonna
Yeah.
try.
great opportunity for discussion. And I look forward to this going forward. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. I'd like to turn it over to our clerk, seeing no other questions, for a roll call vote.
So we don't need a roll call vote, we just need a majority. So let me ask directors in the room. So directors in the room, if you vote aye, please raise your hand so I can count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And then those of you online, I've got Michael Conley online, Michelle Ward online. So that gives us 12. And Tamara, that's 13. So we have a majority. So motion carries.
Awesome. Welcome, Camino. Congratulations. Look forward to working with you. Okay. We'll come back to the agenda item in order here. Number 7, community council reports. So information from various councils on your activities. Looks like Pat drew the first hand.
Thank you, Ken. Yes, I'd like to report that the Logtown Fire Safe Council had a very successful wildfire preparedness and cleanup day last Saturday. We had green waste dumpsters and a chipper. We had 2 50-yard household trash bins and a 30-yard metal recycle bin. They were all filled up. We had about 50 people come through the line. We had presentations or booths set up by Eldorado Disposal, the Oak Hill Community Radio Watch in conjunction with the Amateur Radio Club, and our Fire Safe Council, of course, there and handing out material, and had some hot dogs for folks after they unloaded their stuff. And so it was a very good event, and thank you to all that helped make it successful.
Thank you, Pat. I'm going to go with Ken. I've got several online, so I have not forgotten you, but let's go with Kay Campbell, and we'll go to Chris.
Yeah, I would just like to report that SS2, I'm very happy to report that SS2 crew on the ground will most likely be mobilized by the end of this week.
Hey.
Awesome news. Chris?
Chris Payne, Patterson Ramp Fire Safe Council. Also, I'm District 2 Planning Commissioner. To this gentleman's comment earlier under public comment about Travis Creek Road, since I worked for the Department of Transportation for 33 years and now been retired for 12 doing this kind of stuff, I see how it all fits. I was on E16 going in the South County. Ken lives out on D. Agostini Road, and I noted that E16, which is an emergency designation by the state, it needs work. And certainly I told my supervisor that we had to get some effort out there because of this question of how we're able to leave evacuation routes. The county does not have any evacuation routes. It has to do with risk. If you designate an evacuation route and something happens, then there's a problem because you could be sued. So be very careful when you're saying evacuations route. You can have a local understanding, but not a direct understanding, a legal understanding about evacuation routes. And I'm saying this only because it's my time and I wanted to comment. Now, related to Patterson Ranch, just before I came, I'd gotten an email from a lady and said, you know, I want to be on your mailing list. I want these things, but she didn't tell me who she was and she didn't tell me where she lived. One of the important things is you're communicating as a fire safe council. Ask these people, where do you live? Because she may be mixed up. I asked her whether she wanted to talk to me as Patterson Ranch Fire Safe Council, or did you want to talk to me because I'm a board member of the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council? That's the question I typed in to send back to her. So I would say it's all important. Everybody here today has an important role in this. And so these are my comments today. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, let's go back over here to Janet Ockham Fairplay.
Janet Berenson, Ockham Fairplay Fire Safe Council, and we will be using our Title III funds on June 11th for our first Green Waste Day that will be held in Mount Ockham. So we want to thank the council for providing the subordinate councils funding to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Strawberry.
Hi, my name's Angel Ball. I'm from the Strawberry Fire Safe Council. One moment. I should have taken the microphone. So I want to just say that today, Strawberry is 6 months and 1 day old.
Yeah.
So,
for some
yes, that's number one. Number two, you know who you are, but all of the people in this room that I have called and you've talked to me off the ledge, I appreciate you all. So thank you very much. I'm excited to announce that Strawberry on Saturday will have a community meeting at 10:30 in the streets of Strawberry. We were fortunate enough to get the Pollock Pines Fire Safe Council to do a presentation for us on hardening your home. We will announce the Fire Safe Council and the benefits of our efforts, and Mark Egbert from RCD will be joining us. I was also lucky enough to get the California Fire Safe Council to give me a whole bunch of paper brochures, and the chief and the captain of El Dorado County is going to come to the meeting also. So I'll let you know next month how it worked out. Thank you.
Thanks, Angel. Okay, let's go online. I think the first hand I saw was Michelle Wirt, Omo Ranch.
Hello, thank you. Lots of things going on in Omo Ranch. Just a couple real brief things. There's a big, huge green water tank, like 10,000 gallons up the road that's been damaged not used for years. And we're coordinating with SPI and the fire district, and hopefully going to get that working and or replaced soon. So we'll have a larger water source up there in Omo Ranch. we've been working with Richard Harris with RICD, doing a lot of things to get things ready for some grants that hopefully are coming in, and then also just getting our Firewise things together. So we're got a really active Firewise committee, and they're up there doing a whole bunch of good stuff. Our outreach and education committee has been working hard too. We've got some collaboration with a number of other fire safe councils in our area to do some fundraising, putting up signs at wineries for donations. And also there's at Pioneer Park, we have a disc golf group up there. And we're thinking of going in and kind of offering some vending and things and supporting the community that way, and getting some fundraising going. So that's kind of what we're doing up there, some of it.
Thanks, Michelle. Sherry Hawk, Gold Ridge Forest.
Good morning. So just to report that, thank you, Scott Bears, who I think is online today. We're going to be having our evacuation meeting on June 26th, 9:30 for breakfast treats, and 10 o'clock we will start the presentations. It will be OES, Animal Services. We're hoping, haven't locked in yet, large animal rescue, and of course, Neighborhood Radio Watch, which just keeps growing up here, and we want it to grow even more. We'll also be having a dumpster event, and we plan that for June, I think it's the 18th, for our community. We'll actually be letting people sign up to have pickup service. Since a lot of people up here have small cars or small SUVs, we'll run around in trucks and pick up their debris to take to the dumpster. So anyway, mark your calendars. Everyone is invited. All of Pollock Pines. I'm going to be going to the realtors to see who the new residents are. That's who we really, really want to be able to reach out to this year and find out, who wasn't here last year for the evacuation or for the evacuation meeting. So June 26th, 9:30, Gold Ridge Forest Clubhouse. And it'll be outside, and it's usually beautiful under the shade trees. And we'll have food for lunch as well, although that may just be a taco truck. Haven't decided yet. Thank you.
You're well. That's awesome, Sherry. Thank you. Michael Conley, I've got you up next.
And I'm Mike Connolly with the Auburn Lake Trails. We start our defensible space evaluations on June the 1st, and we had 3 of our inspectors trained by the CAL FIRE and the El Dorado Fire Safe Council. And that was very, very helpful. And we also are having an evacuation presentation by OES and Large Animal Rescue on June 7th. So thank you all very much.
Thanks, Mike. Deborah Cruz, you are up. Looks like you might be on mute.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to touch base with everybody. So over at the Columalotus Fire Safe Council, we held our officers meeting last night around a table, swatted a lot of mosquitoes, but also planned ahead for a week from today when we'll be having our community meeting at the Grange, which is always been very generous. And this time they have not only a nice place to meet live, but Wi-Fi, so we'll be holding a hybrid meeting. And last year, we put out a call to raise money, approximately $2,000, and our very generous community provided over $6,000, of which we are going to be bringing to the community ideas for how some of that money might be sent, some of it, of course, kept in reserves. And the ideas we're looking at are a hydrant initiative, which would have a proof of purpose, which is planned for 6 different sites in the Columalotus Valley where there's currently no water, like by EID, and to put it in a tank and a stovepipe hydrant attached to the Coloma ditch, and looking at having that in one part of the community, donating part of our monies toward that, and also toward getting address signs going, getting that going. So there's a lot of new energy, new excitement at the Columalotus Fire Safe Council, and we'll let you know of anything that might be, the rest of the community would be welcome to join in, like a training on fire behavior, something like that. Thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you, Deborah. Looking online, I don't see any other hands raised. Looking around the room. Pat Dwyer.
Starting to feel like I'm Chris Payne and have to say something about everything.
I did not hear what he said.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Just wanted to let everyone know that are having these events, there are pretty good, solid pop-up tents available. Talk to Jody and you can sign them out. They have the Fire Safe logo on them. And there's also to-go bags that are good to hand out to people that come to these events. And some literature, so you don't really have to go to the State Fire Safe Council. We've got tons and tons of brochures on defensible space and harden your home that are available. So contact Jody and Jody will be happy to help you out. Right, Jody?
Thank you, Pat. And I think you've officially reached new heights today with your status. So, okay, Paul Penn is back. Sorry, I couldn't see you there. Paul, can you double check your mic? Is it on? I can't see it. There you go. Thank you.
So our core group meeting, Paul Penn, Diamond Springs, our core group keeps meeting. All four of us attended the defensible space training. We're looking at having our next community meeting in June or July. And last Saturday, three of us just took a chunk of the community and walked and knocked on doors and handed out those nice bags filled with good stuff and got a great reception. And we'll just keep chipping away.
Paul, I have your defensible space evaluation forms in my car, so get them for me.
Thanks, Jody. Thank you, Paul. Okay, looking like we're, oh, sorry, we're in the back. Step to a microphone, introduce yourself.
Hello, Doug Knifton, Wright Stark Lake Fire Safe Council. It's great to be here. We appreciate all your help in getting us set up. We had Ben Goss, a fire safety technician, do an online defensible space presentation with us, and he's going to be doing one in person at Wrights Lake on Saturday, June 4th, using our guard cabin as kind of a model to do a hands-on thing for our members, and having those tents and literature available. Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. Thank you.
Here in the front. Hi, Mary.
Mary Cornelison with Volcanoville Fire Safety Council. Good to be back.
Good to have you back.
I just wanted to say that we were notified that we received a $132,000 grant. We're going to be doing some vegetation management along Volcanoville Road, and we're in the process of address list and to be able to contact people along Volcanoville Road. We need a rite of passage from Mark, so we can start maybe a cover letter that we can start reaching out to people along the road to get the permission to do some work. We also have put together lists for speakers at our fire safety and Firewise meeting on July 9th. That we have a big picnic, and we usually have anywhere from 75 to 100 people at that meeting. So we're looking forward to that. And there's been quite a bit of logging and whatnot out in Volcanoville Road, and people are trying to make their places a little fire safe.
Thank you, Mary. Alice.
Alice Cantelo with the Oak Hill Area Fire Safe Council. I just wanted to say that one thing we've started at our Fire Safe Council now is, instead of the 4291 defensible space inspections, which we felt really weren't good enough for people to be fire safe because it doesn't even include the 5 feet. It doesn't include home hardening. So we offer those to people if they want to really know what's legal. And we do that, and we do it with a 4291 form, but we also now offer home visits where we'll go and talk to people about defensible space and home hardening, and we give them this little NIST table that they can keep when they do that. So they get a little something also. So we've just started those. We've done it just one so far. We have another one lined up. And so it's just something that other people might think about.
Thank you, Alice. Just think I'm seeing any new hands. Great, thank you. So information items 8, starting with chair's report. Oh, no, I think Deborah just didn't take her hand back down. So chair's report, a couple of things we were discussing at the e-board meeting, and also hearing some input that we'd like to start putting back on the schedule, some periodic presentations, rather than alternate some of our business meetings with some relevant presentations. And one of the first ones that's come up into the hopper is and I think I heard it brought up once already, is the South County Large Animal Rescue, El Dorado County Animal Services. Lori Page has reached out to me and would be very interested in presenting to the group. And I know this is a topic that's always has a lot of interest every year, and certainly had a lot of attention during fire season last year. So we've agreed with Lori that we would calendar her for the July meeting. That'll get us past the elections in June. And so we will tailor the meeting and scale down reports and business items to allow for a significant portion of that meeting to be geared towards probably about a half hour or so presentation. And then over time, we would like to be cycling in some additional presentations over the course of the year, not necessarily every month, but certainly sprinkle those in. And so certainly we all have thoughts, but I love to hear offline, or sometimes send us a note if there are particular presentations that you'd like to hear that you think are relevant that we can pencil in. As we've talked about several times, the 4291 Defensible Space Evaluator Training. Special thanks to CAL FIRE, to Hugh, to Jody, who staffed 2 days here last week, 2 2-hour presentations. And we trained 73 attendees, 37 the first day, 36 the second day, from a total of 14 fire safe councils and 6 partner organizations. And as Alice said, this is certainly not, things are definitely evolving, and there's a lot more that's going into the understanding of how structures are being destroyed and what impacts structures from fire. And there hasn't been a final determination made even on the Zone 0 that is currently being evaluated by the Board of Forestry and Fire Protection. So all that rolls up into down the road, this kind of training orientation. Obviously, there's a lot more information to share with folks. The home hardening piece in particular, as Alice said, and that those aren't the basics of the 4291 piece, but what is important is that the training provided, it's that baseline, it's an understanding of what CAL FIRE is looking for in over 31 million acres of state responsibility area, which is where we all, most of us are residing here in the county outside of cities and incorporated areas. So it's an important foundation, but there is lots of additional information. Master gardeners, others, Heather Campbell put on a great presentation with Alice and others, Kit Bierkamp from the Native Plant Society, on picking the right plants, understanding all of that. And so we want to continue to provide information and share that out over time. But understanding at least the evaluator training provided us that baseline, which I think we can build on. And so again, I thank everybody who participated. And again, how we can support all of you in your communities as people reach out to you. You are the one-on-one contact with communities, and providing that orientation, that education one-on-one really can't happen any other way. You are the most effective way of doing that. And it's brings me to a quote I heard today that resonated. It was from a fire marshal from the city of Santa Rosa. And he essentially said, a community's resiliency is only as good as its weakest link. And I thought about that driving down here this morning, and it's true. We're focusing on ingress and egress. We're focusing on home hardening. We focus on defensible space. We focus on large scale watershed community level projects. But when we really think about it, it takes all of those together to get it done. And so again, we always need to be figuring out, what are we missing and what do we need to be working on? Because again, the weakness at Achilles heel is that piece we're not seeing or we're not focusing on. So to me, as we kick into fire season, and we're certainly there's a lot going on, and a lot of messages out there. But listening to all of the community council reports this morning, you are doing an amazing amount of outreach and engagement with your communities. And it's nice to see this getting back on track, after 2 years of the challenges with the pandemic and couldn't be together or do that outreach. So I'm super excited to hear what you're all doing and this energy that's rebuilding. So thank you. With that, I'm gonna turn it over to you for the vice chair's report.
Well, okay. Little bit's been going on. Back in April 21st, I attended the FPO meeting. The FPOs, one of the things they're working on right now is they're looking at all the new codes, the new building code, fire code. They'll all be out July 1. They'll be published. They will become effective on January 1 of next year. There's that 6-month period, allows the fire authority to look at that, to see if they want to make any amendments, to make them any more restrictive or what have you. So El Dorado County FPOs are looking at that. They have copies of that, are doing that. On the 23rd here, I attended the defensible space class put on by Alice. And I want to say, I spent 40 years in this business, and I can't say enough good things about Alice's class. Seriously. I mean, not just did she talk about, here's the plans, here's what you do for home hardening. She had data, she had statistics, she had all this stuff that's made the class really interesting and really good. And so I want to commend her for that. It was really excellent. Also and then on the 25th, 2 days later, we had another class here on how to become a fire safe council. And we saw some of the fruit of that already this morning with Camino, because Camino was here for that class. Also Greenstone. Greenstone has all intentions of becoming a fire safe council. They have some other things to take care of with their HOA out there first, but they're definitely interested. So I suspect within the next month or two, we're going to see Greenstone States be another fire safe council. So that was really good. On May the 4th, I attended a webinar from the Board of Forestry and Fire Protection, where they're looking at what they call the zero zone, the 0 to 5 feet. We're hearing about what's going on in Title 14 with this 0 to 5 foot thing. So they did a webinar on that, had all kinds of folks that had done testing and data and all that, talking about that. And then now they're moving forward based on that to decide exactly how their regulations are going to look in Title 14. It's coming, whether that's going to be a 0 anything in its zone, or whether there's going to be some small things you're allowed to have in there or whatever, that remains to be seen, but that's coming. Assembly Bill 3074 establishes that. And so that's coming. That was last year, 2020 Assembly Bill. May the 10th, here in the afternoon after our e-board meeting, we had a fair planning meeting for those folks, all the different groups that are looking to put booths together for the fair. Many of you know we're going to try to have 5 or 6 booths in a row out there with the county, with CAL FIRE, with the Fire Safe Council, with FPOs and fire chiefs. I think Forest Service is going to have a booth, so we'll all be lined up out there at the fair and show a partnership through the wildfire, because of the county's new wildfire resilience and fire protection division and department within the county. I think that's going to be really a good thing. We're looking forward to that. We have another meeting for the fair planning on June the 7th at 1:30 here. And then as Ken talked about, on May 11th and 12th, we did the defensible space training and evaluation training. CAL FIRE did that. That was great. We thank them for that. We were there. County Fire Safe Coordinator meeting we had yesterday at the County Office Center, talking about the wildfire resilience and protection program, and we got to talk to our new fire safe coordinator, Maya. We'll talk more about her. Then tomorrow I'll be attending the FPO meeting there again. This is a standard thing. And then on June the 11th, at this site, again, that's a Saturday from 10 to noon, there's going to be a I'm going to call it fire resistant landscape class. Is that right, Alice? I think, is it Kit Beer Camp going to do that? Yeah, so that'll be here if you want to attend that from 10 to noon. And then lastly, I want to remind you again on May the 21st and 22nd at the Amador County Fairgrounds, the Smoke Chasers event is going to be there. Might be a fun thing. Bunch of fire people running around, whatever they're going to do. I've never been to one, but I'm going to try to make this one over at the fairgrounds. And on Saturday, it's 11 to 6, and on Sunday, it's 11 to 4. So I encourage you, if you're interested, going over and doing that. So that's it for me.
Well, I guess that's the case in point. There's a lot happening right now. It's all good. It's all good. There's just a lot. No, and always thank you. Hugh's been just doing an amazing amount of work, keeping a lot of pieces together as we go forward. So thank you, Hugh. All right, Secretary's report, Karen.
Thank you. So everybody on the board should have received some draft ballots that list the positions that are being run for and open. So those were just drafts. The election is in June. I have all the renewals for the councils that are due by June, so that we can get you on our insurance, get your councils renewed. We're only down to needing about 5 or 6. And those are councils that are having meetings in May to do their election of their new officers and stuff. So I expect those real soon, and we're looking good there. So yeah, thank you everyone for getting your forms into. Appreciate it.
The treasurer's report down to new business item 10, because we have a discussion item there that goes part and parcel, and I don't want to talk budget without having this discussion with all of you first. So let's defer the treasurer to report to item 10, and that way we can also now dive right into our partners reports in case any folks have to leave. So first up is BLM, and I think I see Jerry Martinez here. Jerry, you have the floor.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So again, I'm Jerry Martinez. I'm the Fire Management Officer for the Mother Lode and Ukiah Field offices. So geographically, 7 CAL FIRE units have responsibility for BLM land, 2 field offices that I'm responsible for. If anybody's interested, LNU, MEU, TGU, NEU, AEU, TCU, and MMU. So yeah. So
a lot of acronyms.
A lot of acronyms. TMI. With that, we are fully staffed for the first time in the decade plus that I've been in the position.
Nicely
yeah.
done. Nicely done.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, it's fully staffed for us. That's 2 state unit and myself. Plus, we just hired a forestry or fuels technician to help get out on the ground a little bit more. So. With that, I have a couple of things for the group. I'm sure there might be questions, or I'm going to hang around a little bit afterwards. I know I've talked to a lot of you in this building because BLM's land are kind of scattered, not really contiguous all over the place. I think at Mother Lode, somebody counted 990 scattered parcels over 8 counties. So we have a little bit everywhere. I know from our state office, there was a notice of funding opportunity put out on grants.gov. I'm not sure if it's closed yet, but this is the same type of grant funding that Tamara was able to tap into a couple years ago for the Georgetown Divide Fire Safe Council. So that's out. The bipartisan infrastructure legislation that passed last year has more than quadrupled our funding going forward for what we had, which wasn't a lot, but a lot of money coming in, and frankly, we're scrambling just a little bit to try to get it spent appropriately. So we're working on that. With that, we did have a couple of new NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act. We don't have CEQA relief like CAL FIRE, but we do have some ways to get work done much quicker. We do have a programmatic fuels environmental assessment that's coming out, calendar 23, which will allow us to streamline our NEPA process to get work done, and that'll be throughout the whole field office here. We have categorical exclusion that we now can use, and we haven't had before. And then we also have, it's called an IDIQ, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity private contractors, where we can just go to a list of private contractors and hire them without having to go through multiple bids in that process. So making that much more streamlined. The fire restrictions, we're looking to potentially go into those here probably early June. With those, about a year or two ago, whenever we decided to go into target shooting restrictions as well, when we go into fire restrictions, which is kind of a new thing for us, but so that'll be coming out here in a couple of weeks. We also have an agreement with Bureau of Reclamation to help them in the Auburn Dam project lands, which of course some of that is in El Dorado County, and also Martinez Creek. I think there's some BLM parcels down there, and so I actually have a. That's your area, okay? And yeah, so, yeah. So I have a weekly call with BOR. Actually, it's tomorrow, and I've asked them to look into that. When I brought it up to the folks at Auburn, they said, "What lands are you talking about?" They weren't sure what they were. So we're working on that, trying to see what we can do. Also, we have lots of brochures and handouts we can give to the different fire safe councils to help us spread the word, particularly target shooting, but just fire safety. And so Jason Schroeder is the what we call the mitigation education specialist. He's basically our prevention battalion for Motherlode. We have 3 other fire safe council meetings today, so we had to split it up. So he's attending one in Mariposa County right now. So he'll be the one that you'll be talking to, and then he'll be bringing projects back to me. He's doing his position, so he's got a learning curve, but we know he'll do a good job. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Jerry. You can definitely tell pandemic's over because everyone has a backlog of handouts they want to start using. So I'm hearing that's a common theme. So is that a couple, any brief questions, David? For the good of the order.
Sorry, Folsom Lake Veterans Camp. Any chance they'll get any housing?
So I'm glad you brought that up. I actually have it on my list, and I forgot to. Oh, am I still on? Yeah, okay. So we're working on it. Yeah, unfortunately for this season, no. The process, it's like a 5-year plan. In order to try to get plans approved, you have to find a location. We're looking at different areas. I think one of the areas we're looking at is Newtown Road. There's a BLM parcel with an old, I think it's Search and Rescue, El Dorado County Search and Rescue building. It was a El Dorado County Fire building. But anyway, we're looking at places. And with that, unfortunately, we've had a hard time filling out the overhead positions on that crew. We have not been able to fill the superintendent, a captain, or a squad leader. So they're going to be more like a fire module this year, 10 to 12 people until we can get fully staffed. But we're having a hard time filling positions. Yep.
Thanks, Jerry. And I want to go to, I got you, Ernie, there, but I want to go to Michelle online. Jerry, could you get everyone your contact information?
Yeah. You want me to
Yeah,
email
just
it?
oh, well, that would be great if you could email me, but also if you want to just read it out.
Oh, sure. Okay. So my email is GMMARTIN. So GM Martin at BLM.gov. And then my phone number is 916-941-3108. 916-941-3108.
Yep. Thanks, Jerry. All right, Ernie, quick question.
Yeah, Jerry, a quick question. Up in the Grizzly Flat area off of Grizzly Flat Road to the south of it, it appears, I know just when BLM has some land right off of the Grizzly Flat Road, I've noticed a lot of brush being removed. Is that part of one of your programs? Or is that
Are you talking like Rocky Bar Road or
in that area? Yeah.
We have some emergency stabilization that we're doing from the Caldor in the burn area.
Got it.
Matter of fact, I think this weekend we're gonna have Folsom Lake Veteran Crew out there and fall a bunch of hazard trees, and we're just trying to clear that up. But any large scale fuels project or brush removal, there's nothing going on to my knowledge on B1. So.
Yeah, it appears like some of those slopes have been denuded, probably on purpose because of the Shamish and Manzanita burned off completely. And I just wondered if the BLM crew was, or, contract clearing part of that off.
No, it shouldn't be, not on BLM. And again, BLM is so scattered, that's us and it's not, and it's.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ernie. And Deborah, I want to double check your hand is still up. Anything? Yes, Deborah Cruz. Come on.
Good morning.
I'm going to get Deborah first here and go back to you,
Uh, Jerry, would you be able to also give us the contact information for Jason Schroeder? Is he, what's his BLM.gov? And the reason is the Coloma Lotus area has, like many of us in El Dorado County, about 15 to 17 BLM properties within our Fire Safe Council, and one especially along the Dave Moore Trail backs up to a number of houses, and we would like to offer that as a very a place where a lot of good could be done by vegetation management.
So I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's about a year or 18 months ago, somebody from your Fire Safe Council brought this project to us, and we have maps and it's on my NEPA list, but I have not. And again, I apologize, but with all of the counties, if folks don't really come after me and continue to to contact me, then it just kind of drops to the bottom. But it is a project that I've given to our resource staff to take a look at. Cultural botany, everyone's taken a look at it. I just didn't know if you were actively still interested in that project. So please contact me directly, and then we'll get that going.
Joe.
Thank you.
At the ranch, our eastern part, where the borders are, we're having problems understanding what is BLM and what is forest. I go to one people and they say, no, that's BLM.
And which area are you in? I'm sorry.
Rancho Bensama.
So we only have we have one small parcel over in, and it's got to be Forest Service. It's only a BLM parcel down in, it's down at the bottom. It's called, there's a little pond down there, Spivey Pond. So there's like a 40-acre parcel on the south side of 50. That's the only BLM parcel that's anywhere in that area. So it must be Forest Service. Well, we're not around to defend ourselves that much. So.
Thank you for that, Joe. And as Jerry said, he's willing to stick around a little bit after the
Yes.
meeting. And so we've got individual questions. He's absolutely here for that.
Yep.
And very much appreciate you being here, Jerry. We had a couple of things in the chat. I think most of the questions have been answered as we've gone along, but I do want to, the fair has come up several times in today's discussion. And I know I'm going to put Alice on the spot for later, but when we get to the community outreach piece, can we talk about that at that point? Perfect. So Alice is heading that up for us, and we'll talk about signups and how all that's working. So we'll get back to everybody there. All right, next up. I think Jerry asked her to go back through him, but here's what we'll do. We will get emailed out to the group, both Jerry and Jason's contact information. So y'all have it. Steve and I are talking about that. So, okay. Steve DeBenedict, CAL FIRE, thank you for being here.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everybody. Just a few things to bring to the group that you might be interested in. One, CAL FIRE, especially this unit, we're going to be working on our VMPs the next couple of months. Our battalion chiefs are going to continue to look for opportunities to do some prescribed burns. You might see that out in Georgetown Divide or Sly Park. It's all going to be opportunity dependent. So as the battalion chief evaluates conditions, whether it's safe to do and what our resources are, we will continue to pursue that. Along those lines, our CAL FIRE Academy in Ione is hosting a HFEO training class right now. So they're going to be bringing a lot of heavy equipment operators out to our BMPs pushing some brush, putting them into piles for future burning. So if you see some heavy equipment, CAL FIRE transports going through the area, that's what that's most likely about. Moving on to grants. As you know, our forest health grants were recently awarded, and the Amador El Dorado unit did very well. El Dorado County did well. Our fire prevention grants, again, our unit as a whole did really well as putting together grant projects, specifically the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council. Those are still going through the final decision process through region and Sacramento. But those the announcements on those awards are going to be in June is when that'll happen. As far as logging and forest practice, we've had a few decision point dates that have come up for those that are codified. So April 1st and May 1st, there's been a series of fire prevention rules that went into effect for those type of industrial operations that are happening out there in the wildlands. So there's a specific tool complement that those operators need to have, and our forest practice inspectors are doing routine inspections, making sure that everyone's in compliance. And also those operators are required to do after hours walkthrough patrols after those operations. A lot of good stuff happening with that. Sierra Pacific Industries, Leone Meadows, very, very active in cleaning up post-fire from the Caldor fire, getting that land in production. And going back to the forest health grants, Leone Meadows was awarded a forest health grant that's going to help bring that property back into a healthy forest stand in the future. But we've got to start somewhere, and they have some funding to do that. So we're real happy to be supporting them in that effort. And as far as that salvage logging goes, I do see that, for the most part, there can be a lot less green tree harvesting going on this year. Almost all of it's going to be salvage logging. We're kind of running into that opportunity. We're already starting to see some blue stain in some of our timber. And, as we get into this hotter weather, we're going to see some checking on that wood. So we're hoping that the markets can continue to support that. It's a benefit to get that wood off the ground as far as future fuel loads, but also just allowing people to go in there and do the next step of forest rehabilitation, the site preparation and the plant. And so that's all I have in the report.
Thank you, Steve. We'll be definitely looking for you in June. Okay, it's one question online from Michelle.
A real quick question for Steve. I'm up in Omo Ranch, and a few people have asked, because we got a little bit of burn in our area. So individual homeowners, are you also going to, like, those individual homes to remove the salvage logs, or is that the homeowner's responsibility, or SPI, or like who up in that area? I get that a lot of people. We did like the burn back down into the canyon, and a lot of people still have some questions up there. Omo Ranch.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different resources out there for that. So immediately post-fire, the fire takes on the responsibility as a suppression repair. So that's the damage that was done to put the fire out. So the dozer trails that may cause erosion, filling in creeks, breaking down fences. The fire itself doesn't take care of fire damage to the trees of the houses. So at that point, we're looking at other resources. And so you're going to see a lot of different activity. PG&E is going to go out and they're going to take care of their infrastructure. There's going to be some activity involved with that. Up a little in the Grizzly Flat area, there's the Cal Recycle program, and that may extend down a little bit into that Omo Ranch area, where they're going to be looking at the public safety for public roads. Other than that, a lot of that responsibility falls on the landowner. So as their property is burned and they've lost some timber on there, it's up for them. They can look to the fire safe councils for help on being directed to those resources, but they're going to have to kind of take it upon themselves to find out what resources best fit their situation. So I've kind of thrown out a lot of those bigger type agencies, those bigger landowners, the agency work. But what we are seeing too are these smaller landowners that have consulted with registered professional foresters or licensed timber operators, applied for the appropriate harvest document to go in there and log their property. So that is landowner driven for the most part. Thank you.
And Michelle, to tag on to what Steve's saying, there are multiple efforts by a lot of different places picking different elements of the tree removal. A big initiative that's occurring is the Caldor fire recovery effort that's being funded significantly by CAL FIRE, but being led by the RCD and a team of folks that is covering and removing many of the trees from landowners that have signed up, sort of in a large donut-shaped area around Grizzly Flats, but I think they're also moving into other areas potentially. So they did a lot of their outreach through the fire safe councils. A lot of it's been through Grizzly Flat. Don't know if they've talked directly to Omo Ranch, but that might be an opportunity to circle back with the RCD and see if there are any plans to address the fire damaged areas that aren't being impacted or treated by some of the other programs.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I let everybody know. We were much, we have a lot more left in Omo Ranch than Grizzly Flat, so they all understood that. That's where kind of a main area of focus is, but yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Thanks, Steve.
So, Deborah, I see your hands up. You have a question? Okay. All right, very good. Thank you, Steve. Okay, next up, item 3. So a little change here from what you've seen in the past. Historically, this has been listed as the El Dorado County Vegetation Management Ordinance Program. Obviously, there have been a number of recent changes. And so today I'd like to introduce Juliet Barwiz. She is had been working in the Vegetation Management Program for the county, had replaced John Wilcox, who we know led that. And so I'm going to turn it over to Juliet to talk about what's going on in that program, the changes, and what's happening.
Good morning. So as Ken said, my name is Juliet Barwiz. I am an administrative analyst in the county's Office of Wildfire Preparedness and Resilience, which the county has established to sort of support these wildfire preparedness efforts. Ultimately, the creation of a fire adapted El Dorado County, working in collaboration with the existing community partnerships and organizations that we have in the county. So a few things going on. One, like has been mentioned, we are very excited for our collaborative presence at the county fair. So we're working on that. We also have a public facing website in the works. It's not live yet, but we're working on that in conjunction with our GIS analyst. And that will also have a public facing email address to go out. So we can kind of direct folks to that. So that'll be very exciting. We did submit a sub-application for a grant, for a hazard mitigation grant in the Weber Creek, Texas Hill area. We submitted that back in April, and we are still waiting for review by Cal OES, but hopefully around late summer, we should be hearing back and about next steps for that. So nothing new to report out on that, but we moving forward with that. Hopefully we'll get some exciting news closer to August, September. We have started to clarify the scope of our working group that we have. We had the resiliency working group, so to speak, that has now been more narrowly defined as our Office of Wildfire Preparedness and Resilience Advisory Group or Advisory Committee. So those folks are going to serve as really kind of the outreach through community to advise the county office and to kind of help inform priorities and relay concerns from the community. So we have that group, and we are starting to define those partnerships and community stakeholders that we want to make sure we reach out to, like utility companies and those folks as well. Our vegetation management program, like Ken says, has now transitioned to this Office of Wildfire Preparedness and Resilience. It had been previously organized under Emergency Medical Services and Emergency Preparedness. So a little bit of a change, just trying to encapsulate all of the wildfire related programs into one spot so we can facilitate that coordination and collaboration a bit better. And in that program, we are working with El Dorado Hills Fire that we are contracted with to perform our complaint inspections that we receive. which we get lately about 20 to 30 complaints a month, which is a really big increase from what we had been seeing because it's, dry and warm out and folks are getting concerned. So we're seeing a big increase in that. And we're also about to move forward with the county emphasis area inspections in El Dorado Union Mine area and the rescue. So we are about to get some letters sent out to those folks to know that they're included. And there will be community meetings in June for those folks they've come to ask questions and that sort of thing. So those will be going out shortly. I did have a question. I don't know if anyone wants to answer right now as far as these defensible space evaluations and the home hardening evaluations, like Alice mentioned. We do get a lot of calls from folks wanting almost like a preemptive inspection so that they know they're on the right track or they know where to start. And I know the Fire Safe Council does, they're training up defensible space evaluators and folks to do that. And I'm wondering if there is a preferred or a centralized way for me to direct these folks when they call to most efficiently. And then last but not least, so our fire safety coordinator, Maya Davis, has recently started. She's brought on through the California Fire Safe Council grant opportunity in coordination with the RCD and El Dorado County. Right now, she's got her a little bit on both sides, working with Mark at the RCD and working with the county. And so I got to meet her yesterday. So I would like to give her the opportunity to, I know she's on the call, to speak a little bit more about herself and what she's getting started on.
Thanks, Julia. Hi, folks. Good to see you. I've reached out to most of your councils for information through my personal email address because I'm new and a lot of administrative stuff is still going through, so I don't have a public email address yet, but I just wanted to say hello and attend your meetings if I'm able, and see what kind of projects folks have going on so I can be a better link between you and the Office of Resiliency and the Fire Safe Council in general, and figure out how to streamline projects, or maybe projects can be linked for more efficient grant opportunities and things like that. So I'm excited to get to know you and see you and learn more about what you have going on.
Great. Thank you, Maya and Juliet. And yeah, we talk about a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And as the Office of Wildfire Preparedness and Resilience gets stood up, we had yesterday over almost a 2-hour meeting between the RCD, the county, and the Fire Safe Council to really meet Maya, talk about work plan, and just kind of get some thoughts going forward. As we had applied for and been approved for, as the county had been approved for this Fire Safe Coordinator grant, it was all happening at the same time that the Caldor fire was unfolding. And so things we put in the application and discussed then, things changed over time. County's interest and ability to support all of this efforts through the Wildfire Resiliency Office. So now we're bringing Maya on board. What's been critical is this synergy with the office and the coordination, because the county is the holder of the grant. And really, as we build this initiative under the direction of the Board of Supervisors, it's all of this really under the fold of this countywide adoption of fire adapted communities and resilience and interaction with all of us. So she'll be very closely coordinated. We're probably looking several days a week working in the office while physically located there to try to really absorb the discussion, because we're speaking as one voice when we come. And as Juliet talked about, the board commissioned the working group, the Office of Wildfire Preparedness Vegetation Management Working Group back in September. The group is really now morphing into an advisory committee to the county's Office of Wildfire Resilience. And so we, along with a number of others, we as the Fire Safe Council are represented with a seat on that table. Hugh is actually filling that for the County Fire Safe Council now. I've stepped back to help support and work on the efforts of the office. So a lot of changes going forward. We don't want to, you and I discussed this. We don't want to take a lot of time today because we have a full agenda and we need to get through it. But we're going to spend some time in the next couple of months bringing in the partners and really sitting down and talking about sort of where things are going into the future. It's all good, but it's a lot of change, and we need to bring everybody along with this discussion so we all understand what this is. But again, it's all very positive, but we're having to respond, to our changing environment outside and the conditions we're facing, and then the support we're getting from all levels of government and other organizations to help mitigate that. And that's taking a lot more effort and work and coordination to do that. So more to come there, but excited to have Juliet here with us at these meetings and
Maya, I apologize for responding to your email. I was confused. I hadn't heard about your new position. Chris Payne, Patterson Ranch Fire Safe Council. I responded to your email like you were a neighbor.
That's fine. No need to apologize.
But I wanted to say I wanted to make myself available to you, and with Ken's support, fill in of the fact that I was 33 years with the El Dorado County Department of Transportation. I think would help in a lot of dialogue related to areas of the county. Also, I'm the planning commissioner for George Turnbull, Supervisor Turnbull. Thank you.
Say your name one more time, please.
It's Chris, K-R-I-S, Payne, P-A-Y-N-E.
Thanks, Chris.
Patterson Ranch Fire Safe Council.
Gotcha.
well, it won't be long before you'll never forget it. Yeah, we mean that with love. Sherry Hawk, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Ken. Welcome, Maya. I know I'm excited about everything that's going on and moving forward for this county. So welcome to your new position. And I just wanted to ask a very quick question. How long are complaints taking once they're received? How long is it taking to get to those areas? I guess that's for Juliet.
Yeah, she's grabbing her mic.
So we are right now, we're meeting every 2 weeks. We sit down and we invite all of the fire protection districts representatives to attend the meeting. And that's when we will go through kind of a batch of all the complaints we've received over the last, right now it's on a 2-week basis. And during that 2-week period, I do kind of go through and review the complaints that are incoming to see if there's anything that really stands out. We might have to adjust that schedule of meeting bi-weekly to assign these out if the volume maintains what it is or if it increases. So that is flexible. So right now, it's typically between the time someone submits a complaint and it's assigned for inspection is about 7 to 14 days. And then, I mean, El Dorado Hills, for their part, when they are assigned a complaint, which is, any complaint actually in their jurisdiction or ones that just because of capacity or complaints that the county traditionally had been doing with our own DSI, they do jump on those immediately. A lot of times and maybe Ron can speak more to this, but once we have the meeting, we'll see an update that a property's been inspected or scheduled for inspection within a couple days of being assigned that. The inspection process itself, especially I try to manage community members' expectations when it comes to how quickly some of these are resolved or what abatement looks like. And honestly, sometimes we receive complaints that are not actually the property isn't even in violation of the ordinance. So there's some education there as to why a property, why someone's not out there doing mastication, because the parcel is very large and it's not threatening any structure, So typically a property will receive multiple inspections. We put 30 days between each one. So, and during that process, which, about 90 days, during that process, the goal is to reach a resolution without, needing to push on like an enforcement or levying a fine. So, right, so on the western slope at least, complaints are inspected pretty quickly within a couple weeks, and it starts a process that can last about 3 months. Up in South Lake Tahoe, we have Lake Valley who is they handle their own inspections at this time, and they do receive a large volume of complaints. There was one meeting we had with about 12 complaints, and they were all in Lake Valley at one time. So they're seeing a real increase there. And they do try their best, looking at the complaints, triaging which ones they respond to more quickly and how they keep that pressure on. So some of them they do get on right away. And then some of them, I know if they take a little bit longer, we're not talking like the 3 days or so, but they do start looking into those properties and getting eyes out there to see what the hazard is, and then going from there with the resources that they have. And then similarly, they have that 3 inspection process, ideally about 3 inspections, each one about a month apart. And then if they do kind of reach a dead end, then they will turn it over to El Dorado County to enlist our support in getting that property toward compliance. Don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
So thank you, Juliet. And what's important to note here, and she said it, but I want to emphasize it, and Ron will probably mention it too, is so you'll see El Dorado Hills Fire outside the district working on these because they are contracted. County has contracted with El Dorado Hills Fire to provide that service, these follow-up, not only doing the focused area inspections, the community emphasis areas in Diamond Springs and Rescue, but also the addressing some of these complaints out there in the field. So again, you will see them out there. They're doing that on behalf of the county. Okay, next up, I don't see anybody from the Fire Chiefs Association, so I think I'm just going to defer to Ron Phillips. We'll probably roll both together from fire prevention officers. Hello, Ron.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Just a quick update from the county fire chiefs and the fire prevention officers. I think Ken, Hugh, and Juliet have all kind of mentioned many of the activities that we're already working on collaboratively with everybody else. In response to the question about vegetation management complaints on the west slope, El Dorado Hills Fire is conducting those investigations on behalf of the county. Just this week, we were up in the greater Placerville area, up in the Garden Valley area, and then the Camino area, following up on complaints. So we are trying to get to those within 5 to 10 business days, of receipt of that complaint from the county. We're in the process of hiring 3 additional defensible space inspectors to assist in the program this year, and we expect those folks to be on board prior to or right around Memorial Day. And then we'll start working on the county emphasis area inspections. On behalf of the FBOs, just a couple quick things. The county fire chiefs are looking at approving a set of regulations here in the county that would establish minimum requirements for the development and use of what are known as fire safe plans. Those plans are required by the county for any new development projects that occur. Those plans have to be approved by the local fire districts and by CAL FIRE. But the guidelines themselves, the rules that were required and what constituted a plan was somewhat vague. So we've developed a set of guidelines to help clarify what needs to be in those plans and how they're to be used. And those that standard is scheduled to go to the county fire chiefs for final approval next week. And the only other issue that I wanted to report out on, both the Cameron Park Fire and El Dorado Hills Fire districts are currently about 50% through the vacant lot inspection and enforcement program that they do annually in their jurisdictions. I know in El Dorado Hills, we do about 2,000 properties we inspect annually, and if they don't comply by June 1st, then we are scheduled to start abatement efforts on those properties that remain a fire hazard. And so we're about 50% through that process now, with the goal of trying to get everybody in compliance by June 1st. That's the end of my report, unless anybody has any questions.
Seeing none here in the room or online. Great. Thank
Thanks.
you, Ron. Again, lots going on in that arena. I don't see anybody online from the Forest Service. Don't think we have anybody in the room. report. Eric Brown, unable to make it today, takes us down to PG&E. Mike Webb.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Mike Webb, PG&E. Just on the lighter side, we've done some presentations over the last few meetings, and I think today the message I just wanted to share is that we have finally arrived at a weather pattern and some weather where we're actually going to start implementing our enhanced power line safety setting program on a broad level throughout the service territory. So as we have this this little batch of above normal temperatures and north winds over the next few days, we will enable those circuits and those settings, and we'll see how things work. So we're anticipating obviously a huge reduction of risk, but I'm sure we'll also find some other stumbling points with such a large initiative covering such a vast area. So so with that, that'll be an interesting ride the next few days and see how things go. The other piece to that is we are starting to lease and mobilize the generation for the respective microgrids. The ones that I'm specifically working with are Colfax, Forest Hill, Georgetown, and Pollock Pines. So those generation contracts are being executed, and that mobilization for those so we can support those communities during the public safety power shutoffs should we have weather and wind events that would trigger such a need. So with all those things on my mind today, I kind of, in my personal situational awareness, I did a little personal evaluation today that I just wanted to share with everybody here. One is I just need to update the suite of things on my phone that help me make decisions in a day when it comes to hot, dry summer days. So first, alert wildfire cameras. Make sure that you have that on a homepage tab on your phone. So if you hear a report of a fire, you can go look at the camera, see what it looks like, and help you with your decision process. Two, the Broadcastify application. Broadcastify allows you to monitor the local fire frequencies and channels so you can listen to what the firefighters are saying, and you can listen to their voices and know what kind of that situation might be on the ground for firefighters. Three, make sure you sign up for Code Red and you're up to date with all of your phone contacts and information. Four, PG&E outage and PSPS planning maps. They're awesome. Type that into the internet. Make sure you have that on your phone. You can either search by your current location or by your personal address. And then number five, this is the big one for me. Every morning I get up and I look at the National Weather Service for Sacramento and confirm if we're in a fire weather warning or red flag warning. So that may be a day where I change my behavior or my routes, knowing that if I leave the area and there's a fire, I might not be able to get back home. So I make sure I plan accordingly for evacuations and family contacts and those types of things. So lastly is what I wanted to share with the group, and it timed out unfortunately, is everybody in this room, I see you all as one, just engaged citizens, and you're kind of the sentinels of safety of your respective communities. But PG&E has a new application that they're beta testing and starting to push out, and it's called the Report It app. And it basically, if you type Report It PG&E into Google, this application allows you as a citizen, when you're out and about in the community and you see something that you feel is unsafe, you can take a picture of it. You can apply specific information. You can drop a geolocation, cross street, whatever, a brief description. And basically that will queue that up into our operations. And basically there will be a closed loop feedback that, we will address the safety issue and give that information back to you as a closed loop safety issue. So not only do we have all these initiatives monitoring the system, but we see the public as a key part of our success in mitigating safety in our communities. So the Report It app is out there. It does have a wait list. I'm not sure how long it's taking because they're just slowly building this database, slowly building the processes to be able to be effective at processing the issues that come forward. So with that, I've had a handful of just customer and citizen issues. I think a lot of those have come through my interactions with you guys since the first of the year of just dealing with trees, and those, it's been wonderful. Keep them coming, and I really feel like I'm helping people get long-term issues resolved by just getting them into contact with the right folks in the company and getting things fixed and taken care of. So so keep those coming, and I'm always happy to support you guys. So thank you.
Mike, we appreciate you, and you're always a plethora of information. And, since we don't want to reinvent any wheels, would you be able or willing to send us a link to those various sites? And you can send them to me like you do, and I can get it out.
Yeah, I always I preach good information. Social media is so over the top. It is a huge distraction for first responders and OES and us to have real information. So I encourage people to get their own information and base their decisions off what they know, see, and feel. And these are the types of information that get you there. Obviously, with a CAL fire information or county sheriff fire information as those other pieces that are really critical. But that's my situational awareness, and I'll put them on one sheet and I'll share them with you.
Rock, thank you. And Mike was gonna buy out Twitter, but someone beat him to it, so he'd have all that for us. So. Cool. Well, thanks. And as always, hopefully Mike will be here for a few minutes after. If you have questions, we will defer those to there. Looks like because obviously we're running late, we're still on time, but folks have other meetings. Sergeant Bear, I believe, had to log off from the ESO Office of Emergency Services, so we will defer him to the next time. Moving on to item 9, old business. I just briefly put Title III funded projects and update. So we received a total of 15 projects from all of you. All of those, you should all have received something back from me saying you were approved and or any amendments we needed to make. So if you didn't get something from me and you sent in a proposal, resend something to me. But we're pretty much done taking any new requests there. Between the 15 projects and the remainder of the allocation of funding we put towards the Senior Defensible Space Program, we have, for the most part, allocated our current allocation of Title III funds. But a lot of great interest. The project, it's great to see a lot of the work, the Community Green Waste Days and other activities, defensible space work going on. So again, communicate as we talked about, communicate with the treasurer to get information on bills through our normal billing process and identify your project when we do that. Okay, jumping down to item 10, new business. Let's start off with Hugh, Elections Nominating Committee.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to thank Karen and David and also Steve Willis for giving me a hand. I had never gone through this before, so if it's all screwed up, it's my fault, not their fault. But the way I read our bylaws, what we have to do now is to make sure that every board member has a copy of those folks that are running for either the board or the executive board this year. And Karen sent those out to everyone yesterday by email. If there is a board member here that did not get a copy of that or has not seen that, let me know. I have some hard copies. We'll make sure you get a copy. So you have that to review. And then the other part of that, the way I understand this, unless I'm wrong, and if I am, I'm sure somebody will tell me. There's never a hesitancy of that. I think we're supposed to open it up to the floor now in this meeting to anyone else that wants to run for an office, a board position, or one of the e-board offices. So I think that's where we're supposed to go now, unless I'm mistaken.
You can actually take nominations all the way up to the June meeting.
First, I guess we move past this because I'm watching the clock. Is there any nomination on the floor today, right now, for any of these positions? Don't everybody jump at once.
Beyond what's already written down.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, hearing none, then I'm just gonna move from there and say, unless I get some more, or we get some more between now and June, the ballot that you have, that we sent out the draft of, will be the ballot that you will get for the June election, and we'll vote at the June meeting. That's all I have, unless there's any question. I hope not.
Vote early, vote often.
Yeah.
So we'll be good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh. I know that's, and Karen for this, always a little bit of a logistical process, getting all of that in. Okay, so new business under item B. I sent everyone in the board packet 2 job descriptions, 2 duty statements. One was an updated version, really of the work that Jody does as the clerk. After sitting down and spending some time, and we talked about this at last month's meeting, Jody's going to be moving on here before too long. I think I can say that, her house has been on the market. So we obviously need to think ahead to prepare for, losing her at some point, and obviously some significant shoes to fill. So when we first started the process, Jody put together a good updated description of her duties, and then we took that and we split it out, thinking we were going to have 2 part-time positions, one that split some of her duties, and 2 some of it we kind of backfill and learn from her, shadow, etc. Going forward. Well, the board met, we looked at it, we can still do that, or we can keep it all together. It doesn't matter. It's the same set of duties. But if Jody moves on sooner than later, obviously we won't have time for job shadowing. So what we gave you was the complete set of updated duties that a clerk would do, either split into 2 or as one. What we estimated in that going forward, based on what she's currently doing, and then putting some cushion in there for expanded additional duties going forward, it's just on average at 20 hours a week. And currently, that would be budgeted at $40 per hour, going through, again, the same model that we have now at the temp agency that we use. In addition to reevaluating and looking at that, we're also proposing, and Pat drafted this for us, proposing an additional position that I put on the agenda to actually take a vote on. But it's a concern. It's an additional grants administrative support position. We've talked about this before. Volunteers can only do so much. The complexity of administering the grants that we have has been largely borne by Pat and those supporting Pat. And we want to give Pat a break. We also recognize that going forward and looking at what we have now, the workload here really needs somebody paying attention to that, as part of their job. So again, what I sent you was a draft job description for a part-time, again, through a temp agency. We're not proposing at all that the Fire Safe Council employs anybody. We would want to use the same model. Again, 20 hours a week on average. And it's budgeted at, again, $40 an hour, but understand the temp agency, to go through that process, there's about a 37 to 40% overhead charge. So that budgeting it at $40 an hour takes into consideration that overhead charge. Those are estimated hours. I think it's liberal at 20 hours a week, but we needed to be fair and think about this. The reason I bring it up together with the treasurer's report, none of these things can happen without costing money. And this represents a bit of a change from where we've been. And so maybe at this point I can turn it over to Maureen, but essentially on average, we've been spending about $10,000 a month has been budgeted, or a year, excuse me, a year for our, yeah, I know. It was like, I just got a big raise. But that's basically what it's been costing us with Jody to do our clerk support. And so with increasing the number of hours associated with that position and adding a second position, that increases our budget allocation estimate for a year to $62,000. So that's a huge change, right? And understanding that we budget based on, we plan 2 to 3 years in advance, estimating what we think our income's going to be from the grants we currently have, and what revenues we might be obtaining from those as invoices are processed. So we have to make some estimations, and also estimate what we think new grants will be. It's not an exact science. We make some very conservative projections, and that's been a very diligent process of the board. Has worked very well. The money is there. I think as Maureen will walk you through some of the numbers, the challenge is we can't always guarantee what things will look like, several years from now. This does, use that money up at a bit quicker pace. So some things to consider here, some discussion, but maybe Maureen, let me set this aside and have her talk about the budget.
Yeah, let me do the budget first. So as Ken said, the increase in the budget is, the admin stuff. And we should end the year with our operations money with about $150,000. So we have more than enough to go into the new fiscal year we're projecting $102,000 budget. And as Ken did say, all of our operations money does come from the fiscal sponsor fees. And so as Ken alluded to too, there'll be an exercise that we will be going through this new fiscal year, looking at, okay, here's the grants that we have. We still have X amount of years that we are going to be working with them. There's X amount of money coming back, fiscal sponsor fees. There's also new grants, it sounds like, that might be in the pipeline too. So for sure, but there's enough money for this year and extra money to be able to pay going forward for this budget. But we do have to do the exercise to make sure that we can sustain this budget after 2023 with the higher increase of the admin costs. And again, this is a draft. We'll go into our e-board meeting next month in June and discuss it a little bit further so you can fine tune it. But that's the reason. And also, we're paying a higher salary for the new people versus as far as the admin costs for the temp agency than what we were paying to Jody. So that was some of it too that went into the increase in the budget. But we're fine for the new fiscal year, and we just need to work on projecting, as Ken said, what the next years of money that we know for sure and how long that will sustain us for that budget there. Does anybody have any question on this part of it? Yes.
Got a quick question. I fully realize Ken and the e-board has gone extensively more into public outreach and so on. A quick idea as to the printing and reproduction number cost. I think you should bump that up quite a bit if we're going to really try to participate in the county fair and various other events from the County Fire Safe Council.
Yes, and I have that in my notes to discuss at the e-board meetings because no, that's fine, because everyone needs to know, we haven't done anything in the past. It sounds like this talk that we are going to, so we do need to revisit that. And thank you for that suggestion. We will do that at the e-board in June.
Oh, one other thing. I don't know if Pat can do a 12-month cycle of when the grants are really hot and heavy and then final reporting. So the grant person may not be 12 months out of the year. It may be a cyclic thing throughout the year.
All that.
Yeah, Ernie, actually, the applying for the grants is cyclic, and it depends on when the grant opportunity is, how many people apply. But once they're awarded, there are monthly and quarterly reports that have to go in. So I think there's plenty of, from my own experience, there's a lot of work to keep somebody busy. The one other note I'll make on the revenue that we get from those grants, the fiscal sponsor fee doesn't come to us up front all at once. As we expend the money on those grants to contractors or the RCD, that's when we collect of our fiscal sponsor fee. So there's a trickling of money that comes into our overhead budget for the life of that grant. Some of them being 3 years, some of them being 1 year. So it's kind of a balancing act.
I'll go on to my, if there's another question. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this information. What I wanted to say in a different way, because always I have something to say, is that when I first joined as an associate fire safe counsel, Pat had taken us through the early years of my involvement. He was doing it as a volunteer. We had talked about, when I came in, the past, what the past was like and how it was handled. So we've made this evolution. We do have choices. We can go back to the way it was, which is not as organized, not as effective, not us being what we are today. we could go back that way and just be a bunch of individuals volunteering for their respective areas. Or we can take this big step and trust that the people that are leading us right now have enough background to be able to understand whether we can be successful under the new approach. That's the key, I think, to all of this. Thank you.
Anything else? I'll go on to the rest of my treasurer's report. So the March budget, there's nothing out of the ordinary. We're just kind of going along. The projects report, we have about $41,000 left in the chipping money, and that was from an advance that we received back, I think, in January. So that will take us to about through the end of June. And as soon as that money is exhausted is when I will then do another advance with CAL FIRE to give us enough money for another 6 months or so. So that process will be sometime in June, because we've been averaging about $20,000 a month for the chipping program. So we have that left. That's all I have. Anybody have any questions? No?
This in kind of two steps. Maybe the first step is to take a vote on the treasurer's report as presented by Maureen, recognizing that we put some budget items together and projected what it would cost if we did move forward with adding additional temp help. That can happen separate from the next vote, where we make it just have a discussion about do you want to move forward. At least that way we've addressed the treasurer report. We have the flexibility to do that, but it's separate from actually approving going forward. Yeah, exactly. So with that, I'd like to move forward and make a motion to approve the the draft budget treasurer report as presented by Maureen. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, I think this is where just, it's a regular just vote item, a majority. So I think we're good. The treasury report and draft budget are approved as presented. So the second item is the discussion on, and thank you, Chris, for the comments. And I think that's really the crux of it. We've got to make some decisions, and we can do this however we want in terms of looking forward. I just know we can't keep doing it the way we're doing it, because it's not only impacting people who are working very hard. Something's going to break. We're going to miss opportunities. We're going to miss reporting cycles, all of these things, because the complexity of this process is growing. And I think we all know, we've heard it from the agencies today, with the availability of funding and things that are happening, this is only going to continue, at least for the foreseeable future. So the proposal is, and you and I are planning to go, we have not done it yet, we'll be reaching out to the temp agency to sit down and have a conversation, what exact costs are, what this would look like, what's the process, so we can make that happen. And Chris.
On your prompting, you don't know, but sometimes you prompt me to say something because of what you say.
Yeah, I'll have to think harder about that.
I know. So maybe you could coordinate it a little bit different. What I was going to say was, David here beside me, he was part of our ability to know in a more broad perspective our financial condition. He worked with Maureen. They have this, as you can see in our packet, they have a lot of information about our financial status by the way that it's now presented. I think it's critically important to recognize that in David's efforts, because it takes us to the next step. It will take us to the next step now that we have so much detail. And as long as we maintain that, I believe we can be successful. Thank you.
Agree, and that definitely validates our budget process. So I guess my recommendation to the group, yeah, so for Michelle online, it's you have it all on the email with the board packet, Michelle, the two position descriptions are in your board packet. My proposal to the group is that we go forward with working with the temp agency. If it's in line with what we're proposing under that budget, that we move forward with flying and attempting to secure one, a grants position assistant, and then two, ultimately working towards the replacement for Jody as the second piece. With the understanding is we're not hiring staff as a fire safe council. So the flexibility that we have over time is that, I mean, it sounds bad, but yes, we can eliminate that. We can stop hire, we can stop that employment. That's the advantage of having temp help. And I think that's just the reality of it. Gives us the flexibility if our budget situation changes down the road. But I think we have an opportunity to, and a need right now to move forward based on our projections and what we have, that this is the right thing to do. So not hearing any additional questions or comment, again, I'd like to put this before the group for a vote. So all those in favor of proceeding with the temp agency to fill an additional position for administrative assistant grants, and that essentially in an expanded way filling behind Jody when that time is appropriate. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, thank you. This is a huge step, but in circling back, giving Chris the kudos here in spirit of what he said. We take this responsibility very seriously, and we will continue to work on this and bring back any challenges, issues, or where this is going, and ensure that we're all in this together. So, thank you for that. Okay, item 10 is done. Item number 11, chipping. Jody, it's happening. You're working.
We did 60 jobs in April. Logtown had a very successful neighborhood chipping day on Monday. There were only, I think, 7 or 8 people, but the more the merrier. But that is after they had the chipper at their cleanup the weekend before. So they have made good use of our chipping contractors. We have money, as you know, so apply for chipping.
Thank you. Ernie, anything new on defensible space for seniors?
Just a couple of quick updates. We have 190 applications. Conducted this week. Just a couple of side notes for over the last 9 years in which the program has been operational, with 11 different grantors putting money into the program. We received over $531,000 for grant money to help veteran seniors and low income. And by the end of the summer, we should have approximately 620 jobs completed through the last 9 years.
Great program, Ernie. Thank you. More to come there for sure. It's created an interest. Okay, next up, 12A. I don't have anything new to report on the work group. I think Juliet covered that well. I don't, Heather's not here, nor I think Tamara had to. So yeah, so maybe just very succinctly, David, if you could cover both. And also just for information, I will be sitting on the steering committee for so far. So yes, that invitation came last week. So.
On so far, next meeting, one of the presentations I'm looking forward to is from Eric Nacita, who is a soil scientist for the Forest Service, but he also seems to be a hydrologist too, or at least does hydrology. No, Lester? Well, he said that hydrology is one of the hats he's going to be wearing. So what more can I say? And so what I wanted from Eric is talk about my interest in soils ends up being hydrophobic and hydrophilic soils. And I'm thinking that a water resilient forest is also a fire resilient forest. And so he's gonna maybe play with that theme. So we'll hear what Eric has to say along that. What do you think? Well, anyway, we'll see what Eric has to say, but Eric can see is a very nice fellow. And then on the biomass, we're working a lot of different ideas, and oh, Chris is gonna talk more than that, aren't you, Chris?
I have something to say, but if you want to go ahead and say something, let's go.
Well, to get a fire resilient forest and county, we're gonna need to have biomass units. So as we've reported out before, Black Oak Mine's gonna have some small buildings, a certain amount of buildings will be run on biomass. That's coming up. Greg Stan's working on that. We're hoping to have projects out at the old SBI mill in Camino, and also hoping to get one in El Dorado, where El Dorado Northern is, and Rob Pimentel. So we have a lot of sites. I've mentioned to the Chamber of Commerce, if they could help us put together getting a fiberboard factory coming here, because they have several of them in Amador. Figure if Amador can do it, we can do it. UC Berkeley said that the most carbon neutral way of handling all this is to take the down forest product and turn it into product like fiberboard, because when it just burns up, it deteriorates, it's releasing carbon quickly. So you can hold the carbon longer if it's in a product like that. I think I'll get my environmentalist friends on board for that too. What did I forget about biomass, Chris?
Last month I had told you Greg Stanton is the county's contractor who handles the biomass issues in the county. He reported here to us a meeting or two ago about his efforts, but under the new office now, and I want to make sure I get this right, the Office of Wildfire Preparedness and Resilience, the things at the county are really taking off, meaning in a positive way, a lot going on. You ought to be very proud of county government. Ken has been very active in all of this in the working group, resilience working group. So in a very positive way, I had David here tell you a couple of places where plants are being proposed. Not that the agreements have been made, not that there's anything to report out yet, but the fact that they're working on these, and these are some of the ones that we've been talking about for years, especially Camino. So this is all very, very positive, and as Ken knows, very changing for our community in El Dorado County. I do want to add one more thing related to the future, since I am George Turnbull, Supervisor Turnbull's planning commissioner, but also I'm actively working with him on issues. I got to go last Saturday to Tom McClintock's office. It was on a different subject, but while we were there, I had our House Representative McClintock telling us in a very positive way about all the things that he's trying to do for El Dorado County. I think that's very significant because he had mentioned Camino as being a critical part of our story and also a part of the plan. So Ken, that completes my report.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Just really quick on rack and
Oh,
wrap.
yes, thank you.
Okay, rack and ruin, no, rack and wrap. And Lester helped me again on rack. We voted to approve, how much do you think it was, 138,000? About $138,000 in new projects. I think that process went very smoothly, so they'll all been.
Sierra Pines area. And that to be thinking about in the future of potentially, that's another funding source for dealing with hazard trees adjacent to national or on national forest land.
Right, that was near Echo Summit, right, Lester?
Yes.
Thank you. And then on RAP, they have a meeting later this month, and Jill Keith from our Fire Safe Council will cover it for me because I have to do case management for veterans at the same time. So, all right.
Easy, Grant, David. Thank you, Lester. Thank you, David. Okay, moving on to committee reports, grants and funding opportunities. Pat Dwyer.
Okay, thank you, Ken. I'll make it quick. In terms of grants, we have 7 that are currently in work, totaling about $3 million. We have 8 that we're waiting for decisions from, as Steve said, from CAL FIRE, from the State Fire Safe Council, and from PG&E. And we have 4 that are churning through the bureaucratic process that have been approved, but we have to finalize the agreements. And 1 that's in the submission process, another defensible space from Ernie. So in grants, most of them are waiting for decision. End of report.
Lester.
I received via email a notice about a FEMA's Homeland Security Grant Program, and it talked about community resilience. And I wasn't sure if that was the same as what the county's moving forward on, or if it's another new program to be looking at.
I just saw that briefly, and I assumed it was to the county, but not sure.
Okay, because there was the webinars coming up, I think the end of the month. Okay.
Could you forward that on, Lester? Yeah, we'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
Great, thank you both. So Alice, I am very sorry it's taking us so long. We have a lot to cover today. So Alice is stepping up and is going to be, leading our community outreach committee, and a number of things going on. I definitely want her to talk about the fair and what she needs from us. But Alice, you have the floor.
I didn't actually know that I was officially that. So, okay, great.
No, I know.
First, though, I did want to just mention thanks to Heather Campbell, who's been doing this for many, many years, and stepping into her shoes is a big deal. And I know we all really appreciate the work she's done. And second, having to do with that June 11th event, just what she was trying to do, and I'm going to try to continue doing, she wanted to up all of our levels at our various fire safe councils, so we're all kind of on the same page. The same thing that the committees, I can't say it right, the Preparedness and Resilience Coalition, or whatever it is, that office, that are all of our fire safe councils. So when we're doing inspections, that we, like Ken said, the CAL FIRE 4291 is a really nice base, but to get all of our fire safe councils up to a higher level. So also when we're going out and doing defensible space, that we really know it deeply, so we know hardening homes. And so she had started these meetings, and so one of them is going to be on June 11th. The idea is to get people in the fire safe councils who are teaching other people up to date on the stuff. She's a master gardener, but also she's a landscape architect and very well versed in wildfire landscapes. And so I would encourage various people from the fire safe council to consider attending that. That's here again. That's Kit Veer Camp, yeah, on June 11th at 10 o'clock here.
Alice, is there, we can do it offline, but if you want to resend me the meeting info, I'll make sure we get that back.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. Okay, great, thank you. And then, so the fair, which is really exciting. So yeah, having all these people there. So there's 2 things we need from the fire safe council. One is we need to man the fire safe council booth itself, because again, there will be 5 or so of these different booths. And so the fire safe council booth will be volunteers that will be manning that. And so we figure with all these fire safe councils now, it shouldn't be too hard to get volunteers, whether it's for 3-hour or 6-hour segments. We hadn't really figured that out yet. But I think we were talking about manning them from 12 till 6. Is that right?
Yep.
So we could even see that as either 1 fire safe council, which would mean we just need 7 fire safe councils, or if a lot of people are willing to step up, that'd be great, just be 3 hours. And I'm not sure how that works on reimbursing the cost of the fair, but we'll find out more about that. So we need to know, and if you could tell me today that your fire safe council is willing to take a spot, that'd be fabulous. The hardest one, of course, is Sunday, because Sunday's Father's Day. And well, it's always on Father's Day. I don't know why the fair does that. So if there's any fire safe council that's willing to take Sunday, I was going to get you. I would really appreciate knowing that. I guess maybe just won't have somebody there Sunday. I'm not sure what we'll do.
So
then
we
the
have,
second,
we have hard copy sign up sheets. if you
Oh,
wanna do it
good.
Today, and then I was also gonna say, I was waiting for this, but I can also, we can send it out
perfect.
via email electronically as well.
Wonderful. Good. Thank you, Ken. And then just a second, the other thing for fire safe councils that we need is let people know about this. This is a great opportunity for them to come to this one-stop shop and they can learn about water tanks from the fire districts. They can learn about evacuation from, actually, I don't think, is OES there?
No,
No,
they'll be there,
OES
but
isn't
not
there.
necessarily regardless.
Yeah. So but they can learn about the ordinance, from the county people. There's just, it's just a great opportunity. So let your, if you're having an event or if you have a newsletter, let your people in your fire safe council know. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, and to reiterate what this is, and everybody's kind of touched on it, but the kind of, again, under the sort of umbrella is the Office of Wildfire Resilience and Preparedness. I have that backwards, Juliet, sorry. I still struggle with it, but as the office takes shape and the partners are engaging, trying to find what's that sort of first low-hanging fruit where, and albeit not perfect, but where we can show that we're standing together on this common message, this common issue and challenge we all face in the county, making our community fire adapted. And so I remember this was really based on the advisory committee or working group. So it's the partnership between CAL FIRE, the Forest Service, the Resource Conservation District, the fire prevention officers / Delaware County Fire Chiefs Association, the Fire Safe Council, and the county as a whole. So those were the partners that came together and have been part of this advisory committee and said, what if we tried to just do a set of booths together at the fair? What if we bought together a set of 6 tables, partnered, and then tried to share themes? And so we're not all handing out, 6 sets of the Ready, Set, Go brochure, but what if we at least tried to look at what's kind of in our wheelhouse? And what really stood out was so much the work that Heather Campbell had done with a lot of the games and the messaging with home hardening, and how could that blend into being an attraction to get people to the booth. And obviously we're trying to process how would that work, where does this sit? I think we're working through that's an important piece, and we just need to make sure as we as a Fire Safe Council have all the messages we want there. But I think that was a big discussion. But then at the same time, CAL FIRE bringing some specific things relative to their mission, and just literally late edition as of yesterday, the El Dorado Forest has confirmed and purchased their space. So all of the organizations have purchased space, including the Fire Safe Council. We have purchased one spot there. So we're all going to be in a row. We're going to be meeting. We had one meeting, and yes, when you're meeting together for the first time, talking about an idea that we just kind of come up with, it's a little bit fluid. We'll be meeting again, as you said, on the 7th. Now that we have a better idea who's there and where our space is, to see how we want to lay out our tables and organize our setup so that we have a nice flow and folks can really see, we're together on this.
Thank you, Ken. That was a good description of the whole thing. I just, one other thing I want to mention that when you sign up on these sheets, you can either sign up as an individual or you can just put your Fire Safe Council, like I did, because I know we've got a couple of people in our Fire Safe Council. So we will take those slots, and who the actual person is, I'm not sure yet. The other thing is that you won't have to, provide anything. There will be displays there. They'll there. All you have to do is show up and man the booth.
Yeah, absolutely. Making a big plug for that. I see Michelle's got a question. Michelle.
Yeah, is there a flyer or something that we can send out to our community that's already made?
We don't. Go ahead, Alice.
But there should be, so I will work on that. Thank you.
Okay, and could you tell me the dates again of the fair? I know the
Yes,
19th.
it's the 16th to the 19th.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yes, and again, in perfect world, we would have many months to be thinking about this. We realized this was a bit late in the process, but still very doable. And while not, maybe not the perfect mousetrap, definitely an opportunity to start getting this together, and we can build on it for the future. So Alice, thank you. And again, as Alice said, thank you to Heather for all the work she's done in this group and the thoughts and her ability to do outreach in this space really set the stage for us to be able to do this. Governance Committee, Karen, anything new there? Nothing new from Karen there. We've already addressed 13D with council formation. We have nothing new in E and F, marketing or defensible space committees. We're down to the last good of the order. Looking around the room. Michelle, your hands up. Anything new there? Okay, but I do want to circle back. Michelle did have a question. It goes back to the position. So we'll be sitting down and meeting with the temp help agency and then have a better idea on timeframes and what this looks like as far as them out doing recruiting and getting back to us. So I'll let folks know when that process is starting. So if there's interest or folks, they can circle back. Let me grab Sherry online here first, David.
Hi, thank you. I just had a couple of things and I didn't know at what point to bring these up. One was regarding, I'd brought up at the last meeting, AB 38 regarding sale of homes and how that inspection works. I did talk to Catherine Hopkins at CAL FIRE. She's the forestry technician for Defensible Space, and got some more information from her and wondered if I should email that out to the group. It would be nice. They don't have it quite all together, but they have it somewhat together. So I just thought I would bring that up again because there's been a lot of questions in the different communities, POAs on how they're supposed to be handling and what the process will be, especially if a buyer assumes responsibility for that defensible space. So
Yeah, please send it forward, Sherry, and we'll share that.
okay, I think it would be a good thing for all to know. Also, I had a concerning phone call from a woman, an elderly woman in her late 80s, 89, I think she is, in Camino, that was part of the evacuation last year. She is legally blind. She had no resources except through PG&E, but she ended up walking her dog to Pony Express Trail, flagging someone down to get a ride out. I know this is probably not the space for this, but maybe OES, or maybe we can get a group together to try to help our seniors or others that do not have vehicles or a way out during an evacuation time. She would love to move, but she can't afford to move. And she just, she had nowhere to go. She is also has an immune disorder. She ended up being in an evacuation space with about 100 people. She found herself a corner where she could kind of hide, but there's some disabled and senior people out there that really need better assistance from our county during an evacuation crisis. So I just wanted to bring that up too. It was very concerning. We talked for quite a long time, and my heart went out to her for what she had to go through during that time.
Well, thanks, Sherry. And certainly something I think maybe as we get meetings down the road here, we can maybe spend a little time with Sergeant Bear having some discussions about that and seeing.
Okay.
Let's talk about that. But thank you.
Great. Thank you.
I think let me go David quickly and then to Jerry.
Have someone picked out for the new position or?
No, no, we're going to this. We want to advertise, we want to see who's out there and who would be a good fit. Yes. Jerry.
Apologize. I did want to mention one other thing. About a year ago, we rolled out what we call our Defensible Space Program. So what this allows private landowners who border BLM land to cut up to 200 feet of defensible space on BLM. So we issued them a permit. Now, we don't pay for it, but we do issue the permit. So that's something that we're just now starting to roll out. Our new fuels tech, that's going to be his job, sort of the defensible space tech. He'll be taking those in and going out and working with the landowners to do that. So I apologize, I forgot to mention that, but.
Good info.
Just,
Thanks,
just a
Jerry.
quick question. Do you have a one-page flyer concerning that? Or could a flyer be made so that the property, the grid, the fire safe councils that border BLM land, that we can hand it out to the local residents?
Sure. Yeah, we can work on something for sure.
Could you
Yep.
please? Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, we're late in the hour. We're almost at noon. Thank you for your patience for a little extra time today, but we got a lot done and we had a lot to talk about. Appreciate everybody being here. Our next meeting is Wednesday, June 15th. That meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.